What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Transformation. My name is Glaude, and I lost over 160 pounds, going from obese to beast. Now, I'm on a quest to share your stories and inspire others to transform their lives. Today on the show, we have Alex, who originally weighed more than 400 pounds. Even after cutting weight for the military, he still ended up heavier than he began. But after his second incredible change, Alex is now in the best shape of his life. Welcome to Transformation. All right, what's up, Alex? Thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, so I know that in the beginning you were like upwards of 400 pounds. So I'm really interested, how did you get that heavy?
Well, basically it was just from a lot of overeating, and that's kind of how it all happened for me. It was just kind of eating when I wasn't even really hungry, just eating when I'm bored and, things like that. And then what made me want to change was when I got out of high school, I was delivering pizzas as a little part-time job. And I remember one time I got to a house and I actually stepped out of my car and I felt this really, really bad pain in my chest. Mm-hmm. When that happened to me, it really felt like I couldn't really move when it happened. So it kind of scared me. And that was kind of like my click moment, like my wake up moment.
So you have that pain in your chest. What are the first steps that you take?
The next day I quit everything. I stopped drinking sodas, I stopped eating candy, chips, and then I started going to the gym and exercising, maybe an hour out of the day, just kind of maybe just walking, baby steps or whatever like that. And then after a while, I kind of, started seeing results, and then that's how everything started rolling for me, and I just kept to it. And then I wanted to join the Army, because my dad's in the military, and it was always something that I wanted to personally achieve, and do, but, my weight, obviously I couldn't do it. So that was actually my goal, and then my dad ended up leaving for a year to Korea. And I kind of wanted to make it my goal that way when he comes back after that year, that, he kind of came back to a whole new, me or whatever. That was kind of like all the motivations kind of rolled into one.
So how awesome was it when he did come back and he saw the totally different you? How much did that mean to you?
There was actually that one moment where I was at the airport, because I went to go pick him up when he came back. And there was actually a time at the airport where he kind of looked around, and I was standing right there, and he seriously looked my way, and I was just standing there, and I walked up to him, and the look on his face was priceless too, So that actually meant a lot to me.
So did you end up joining the military? I know that was really important to you.
Yeah, I actually did, yeah. I got down to a small enough size to where I could actually, join the military. And then while I got out, my eating habits were different. I kind of felt like I didn't have to work out anymore, because I wasn't in the military anymore. And I started to get lazy, and, the whole getting out of the military shock, what am I going to do with my life type thing, and I just turned to food, like I did back in the old days, I guess.
Yeah, so were you really conscious of every 5 pounds that was maybe getting added on, or were you in denial?
There was times where my mom was like, hey, are you still working out? She would say hey, it looks like you're packing on some weight. And then I would be like, no, I'm not, and I would kind of snap on her a little bit, And, it wasn't her fault. She was just looking out for my best interest.
So what was the lowest weight that you hit? And then how much did you gain back?
The lowest that I saw on the scale when I was in the military, I think it was 247, and the highest that I ever saw, that's why, the second time, I kind of, in quotations, put 410 pounds, because that's the highest that I physically saw with my eyes. After I saw the 410 pounds, that didn't even make me want to change. That wasn't the changing moment. What made me want to change was me and my wife, we actually went to a restaurant, and I took a picture. It was that Forrest Gump restaurant or whatever, and I took a picture there. And I remember when she showed it to me, I was like, let me see the picture. And I was really excited to see it, because Forrest Gump is one of my favorite movies of all time. So, when she showed it to me, my face instantly went from happy to sad, because I was when you're overweight, you don't take pictures at all. So when she showed me that picture, I kind of just stared at it, And instantly in my head, I was just like, wow, this is what I look like, Because you don't feel that way. Even if you look at yourself in the mirror, you see it differently than what you do. In that moment when I saw that picture, that's kind of when I was like, man, it's getting out of control now, And
so you've lost all the weight before, right? Mm-hmm. And then now you've gained it back, and now you're at another spot where you're like, okay, I need to lose an insane amount of weight again. What do you do?
Every time I felt hungry in my head, or I was bored, and instead of reaching for a bag of chips, I had water with me, and I would just chug water. And I just 100% tell people just do it the natural way. Like just, you know, eat a good clean diet, exercise, you know what I mean? That's the best way to go about doing it.
Now that you've been through so much, what would you say your goal is now?
I just want to be happy again, you know what I mean? Like growing up overweight, you know, you don't know what it's like to be, you know, healthy and, you know, and look good and feel good, you know, have that self-confidence. So when I lost all that weight in the Army and, you know, I had that feeling, I was just genuinely happy back then, you know, and that's kind of just what I wanted back. Like that was my ultimate goal.
If there was one piece of advice you can give to somebody, what would it be?
The best advice that I like to give people is that you have to have discipline when it comes to weight loss. Like there's going to be days where you don't want to go to the gym, you know, you have to have that discipline to get up, go to the gym. There's going to be days where you want to, you know, binge eat, you know what I mean? You want to reach for that bag of popcorn or whatever. You have to have that discipline not to touch that bag, you know what I mean? And because you have to have discipline or it's not going to work.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show, man. I'm really glad that I was able to hear some more of your story, man.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. There are two really good lessons that I think we can get from Alex's story. The first one being sustainability. If it's something that you feel like you can't continue to do all the time, there's no way that you're gonna be able to be successful at it. Lesson number two is once you hit a goal, set a new one. Alex set a goal of getting into the military, but never set one when he got out. So that's when he slipped back into bad habits. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for more videos like this every single week. Comment down below, we'd love to hear from you, and maybe we'll even feature you in one of these videos. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.